could move other energies that we're not aware that we can't measure yet.
Yeah, and this is exactly what also goes to what Amanda was saying. The problem is, as long as you cannot measure it, you cannot put it into a scientific approach. As you need to develop a way that you would be a possibility to measure that, and then you can study that. And then you would have a lot of persons who would love to make grant proposals to start a research on that. But it's only possible if you are able to somehow measure it and study that. That's the only way.
I actually think Silvano's question might be best answered by talking a little bit about the Pauli effect. I think that's pretty interesting and would be of great interest to this whole audience. You want to go into the story around the Pauli effect?
Okay, yeah. So in physics we have experimental physics and we have theoretical physics. Experimental physics is what I'm doing, where we build an experiment at one of the colliders at Femilab, and we measure certain things, and at the end we will present results which we hope will help to answer certain questions. But the persons who will help us answer those questions will be theoretical physicists who develop theories and then can, better than I am, tell us what the impact of our measurements are, what the importance of our results are. Pauli was, without any question, a theoretical physicist, and he was among those theoretical physicists a theoretical physicist, and he was an amazing person when it comes up to math and finding all those things. He, however, had no experimental skills. And the funny thing was that whenever he entered a lab, something strange happened. So, for instance, the light went off, or something strange happened with a measurement device. So, at a certain moment, persons were joking about the Pauli effect, that whenever Pauli enters a lab, something screws up, and that is actually based on real observation. That's not something the person.
It's well documented,
and there's not something where persons made this up. I mean, those stories happened. Pauli entered the room and the light went off, and this is for sure one of those things that you would say, okay, how is that in agreement with any scientific theory? Of course it's not. Yeah, I mean, this is.
But a good example, and everybody in this room will pretty much get on this guy. There was a time when they disproved the Pauli effect. Okay, there was a vast experiment where the machinery totally failed, and Pauli wasn't in the room. He wasn't even in the country at the same time. He was in Denmark at the time, riding a train. At the precise moment the machine failed, because they were crazy. They were sending letters and say, "Hey, we proved it's not a real effect." Blah blah blah. At the precise moment the machinery in the lab in Germany failed, Pauli was at a train station stop in Denmark, Göteborg, or you can pronounce it better than I can, but it was the same city, same university as the failed experiment. Same moment, same time. He verified it. Pauli effect was not disproved, and nobody can explain. What is the connection between these random, weird, unscientific kinds of things? And in this room, many people are familiar with the bioelectric fields in the human body. And I don't know if it was Pauli's bioelectric field that screwed up stuff, or if it's something, who knows what it is, but to a modern pagan or something, that's not so weird. That's not so far-fetched. We just don't understand the mechanism, but it intrigued everybody.
Yeah, but this is what I immediately tried to clarify in the introduction. Science has not the power to explain everything, or at least science at the current thing has not the power to explain everything. And a scientist who is telling that does not understand his professional limitations of of his or her profession. But the important stuff, it's just a very powerful approach, which has shown success after success, and will continue. And in order to be part of that, there's only one possibility, and that's it needs to be something which is measurable, and perhaps, yeah, if persons would move Pauli around, I mean, what you would then do, just now speaking a little bit, joking about that Pauli effect, when you would like to make a scientific study out of that, you would move Pauli into labs and study, oh, does it happen in the morning, does it happen at noon, does it happen in the afternoon, does it also happen in the night? Does this only happen in Germany, does it also happen in the Netherlands, what is in the United States, what when he moves
And what if
into...
you had a Pauli impersonator? It still happens.
Yeah, if somebody dresses up like him, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you would do exactly those things, and you would try to repeat it. Yeah, I mean, you said okay, and this is how you would deal with that in a scientific approach. And of course, this would never happen because Pauli said, "Hey, I'm busy. I have a life. I'm not your study object." But this I think is very important. You never should forget that when you try to do that. And this is why I brought up at the beginning also this example of love. I mean, nobody would try to make a theory out of that and say, okay, these are 3 parameters, and when these 3 parameters are well tuned, then A and B would fall in love, and if those parameters are in that way, they would even marry. And so this is not how it works. It's really only limited to a few things, but those limitations are I come back to you, very limited and very powerful. A short comment I also would like to make to you regarding numbers is, I'm also not an expert on that. I looked into a few of those books. There's also this amazing movie Pi about Kabbalistic theories and the Torah. I have my own opinion on that, but there is no question that there are very cool things about numbers. And I just one is the Fibonacci sequence and its implications for physics. Another interesting question is pi, because it's a transcendent number, so you can never represent it as a real number, but you can find any real number somewhere in pi. I mean, and you would say, what is the importance of such a weird number? Well, you find it in everywhere, because if I just look there, then I see a circle, and in order to say what is the length of this circle, I need pi and the radius of that circle, and I can calculate that. I can measure the radius, and then I know exactly how this is with this very weird number. So this is a very interesting interplay about why are certain numbers, and why how they show up in certain theories. So there's, without any question, there is something about that. And it's an interesting expression. So you had a question or a comment?
Al had.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment that this is why there'll always be a bridge between science and mystic thought, because of the analytical conception. I mean, like for example, you take nature. You know, in my perspective, I can go out there and understand what nature is, because I have to go where science cannot. Science will look at nature and they have to put it in a formula of rational understanding. But sometimes you need a leap of faith to go beyond to understand. But science can't do that.
Well, current science. We
Right.
used to say that, you know,
Right.
This analytical science.
20 years from now, somebody comes up with a system or a device that actually can start to measure emotions or intent.
Is that possible?
Consciousness,
Yeah.
Well, the criticism on that is, of course, not every one of us is Siddhartha. Yeah, we all can say easily, oh, we now go beyond our understanding, and we suddenly think, oh, I understand certain things. But is this will this be something which is meaningful to others? Will this be something which you are able to talk with others about it, or is this then something which is just very individual to your own? I mean,
Individual.
yeah, but I mean that's fine. But as long as, I mean, individual, you cannot. It's at a certain moment, and I think this is all about is communication. You talk to other persons about nature, and then when you then say a word, and that's perhaps also what Amanda means with me. You say a circle. Everybody has an idea of what a circle is, yeah, because everybody has seen it before, and then you start, and then you have a common understanding. If you talk to persons and say circle, and a person never has an understanding, then you cannot have any communication, you cannot have something meaningful. And this is also the thing with your very individual approaches. At a certain moment you also would like to be able to talk with somebody about that. And then you need to have something which is a bit about more a common meaning. And then is the question how you do that. And in let's say spirituality or religion, only a few persons have succeeded in that. I mean, Siddhartha or later on as Buddha might be one prominent example. But that would be my classical criticism on this very individual approach.
That's kind of like if you look at the circle on your shirt, you know, I can look at that and I can ask how many degrees are in that circle. One person's going to say 360 degrees. I can turn around and say infinite, but it's still a circle. But I'm seeing it differently than the person next to me is seeing it differently. But it's still a circle. It's like it gets to a point where it's like it really is personal, like understanding nature. If I relate to nature with you, she's going to see it different from me. The rationale is that science needs to have a meaning for, like the general meaning for everyone to understand. And it gets to the point where I don't even know if that's even possible, depending on how far we advance, even then.
Yeah, but going back to old Greek, I mean, the Greeks already understood that we are what they called zoon politikon, so we like to be in societies, and in societies you need to understand a certain, you somehow need categories and you somehow need classifications. I mean, if you're an artist and you play very progressive music and which has a very important meaning to you, and persons say, hey, that's really cool, I like that, I would like to have a record about that. But still, persons put that in categories and classifications. As an artist, you might be annoyed by that because you think it's very personal, it's very individual. But the persons need to talk about it in a certain category and said, oh, that's fusion jazz with a blues component and some stoner rock influence, yeah. And you would say, no, never wanted to do that. But persons need to do that in order to talk about what you are doing, in order to tell their friend, hey, I found a very cool band. They do some fusion jazz with blues and stoner rock. That sounds exciting to me. Give me that record. And that's, to me personally, I don't criticize. I mean, as an individual, you do as an individual, and it works for you as an individual, that's perfectly fine. But as soon as you transport it to society, it gets really complicated. And the way our society is currently structured in the Western civilization, and it was not always the case, but it is now a case, that just the way we talk is in scientific lingo. That's the core of our modern civilization. And that's not the most beautiful aspect of our civilization. That's hopefully still art, and the art we produce. But no one in our Western civilization can just neglect that aspect. And therefore it is so powerful, and therefore we move on. And we live in. We had a discussion, when we had this dinner discussion, also David was present, and we argued about, is science the new religion? I'm opposed to that statement, but it goes now back also here. Persons are always looking for some kind of religion, and there's without a question that the influence of churches, of religion is smaller in nowadays than it, for instance, was in the Middle Age. And certain very powerful religions or churches like the Catholic Church, their power is declining, and so science is perhaps right now a very important, or perhaps the most essential part of our civilization, which never means it's the only part, and because it's always many aspects about that. I mean, that's why life is so interesting, because there are so many things. Yeah, I mean, if science would be the key to everything, we all would be scientists. But we are luckily not. We have writers, and we have painters, and we have musicians, and we have nurses, etc. So that's I think this is a cultural aspect I just shortly wanted to bring up.
It's time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
I would really go on forever. I would, but you know, we all have lives, right? Just like Pauli. So I do want to say, if you have $5, we'd appreciate it. We have things we're buying for it. So if you want to give it, I love.
I'm sure you'll enjoy all the faces. I hope so.
I mean, there's
Loved his
I think it will.
family.
I think we'll be okay.
They told me.
And no offense, I'm sure it'll be a lovely baby, and I'll like it fine when I meet the little one when it's out and stuff, but I'm not a baby person. I'm a kid person.
I remember.
argue that
So, I know Amanda.
philosophy
Amanda was really
in order
short,
to
right?
That's
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And it takes the first 2 years, and then it takes 10 years to sort it.
There's biology.
Yeah, I really like the idea of
And
Tehran.
Daughter Elizabeth doesn't have
approaches
40.
how
Like
there's
the
physics
red,
of certain
red
approaches.
district. You
But
had a
philosophy
place
is
where you could
challenging
go to
the
do
approach.
Robert,
stuff.
you
They don't
ever
ask
seen-
themselves, because this is
Yeah, yeah.
They kept it
You
away
develop
from
a
home
the
and
country.
you're just
Yeah,
gonna
the things
yeah,
that are possible
yeah,
in the field.
yeah.
And then you start from
No,
there. And this is the
it's
philosophy
scary.
that needs to
Yeah.
go into that
But
also.
anyway.
Can I get plates of fire?
Excellent.
That's also